Give me that. Give me that.
Pow! Welcome back to the SUMELEVATE podcast. We have Aaron with us today. What's up, dude?
Hey man, how are you, Sume?
Great, man. So, up until about the age of 24, Aaron lived a pretty unconscious life. He was overweight, he was a smoker at a high-stress office job she absolutely hated, and constantly in and out of depressive episodes. And one day he had a bit of a health scare that made him realize that he can't keep living this way, and he literally decided either he changes things or it's time to end his life. And that's began his journey into health and fitness, losing around 32 kilograms and turning his life around in regards to how he faced the world. And he decided he was going to help others in the same position as he was, which led him to become a personal trainer and then later to a lifestyle coach. And in the last 6 to 12 months, he also started to bring about a lot of spiritual teaching into his coaching. So it's awesome to have you on here, bro.
Man, pleasure to be here. Thanks a lot. Thanks for having me.
Great. So, in terms of your coaching journey, I mean, I've given a kind of a bit of a background here, but what do you think was the spark? What do you think really that led you to start this journey? Yeah.
Man, it sort of that minor health scare. Sort of minor, I guess, when I was about 24, so I'm 30 this year.
Yeah.
And I kept getting like migraines constantly.
Yeah.
I worked an office job. I was a smoker, unhealthy, like so unhealthy.
Yeah.
And man, it was like, you know when you hit your rock bottom, you sort of hit that rock bottom where you're like, is this living? Like, is this how you want to spend the rest of your days?
Yeah.
And man, something sort of clicked, and I was like, nah, screw this. So
yeah.
It was like it was almost an overnight decision.
Mm-hmm.
Quit my job, decided to quit smoking, decided to eat healthy. It pretty much almost happened in an overnight situation, but of course it took longer than that. But that click in the brain, sort of, it's like, nah, this. So,
absolutely, yeah. Would you say that you did things before that click? Like, were there things that you did prior to that click that kind of assisted you in your journey when you did decide to eat healthier?
And it's funny you say that, because I had been following a fair few inspirational like Owen Cook, for example.
Yeah.
Tony Robbins. Like, yeah. I'd been reading about this stuff and watching videos, and I think in hindsight, now that I think about it, man, I think it had been building.
It's been building up, yeah.
It had been building, yeah. And actually, I remember the book that I read that made me decide, like, okay, like, when you're in a state where you feel like, you could probably relate to this, where you're not in control, you're in reaction to everything. You're just in complete reaction. Like, I feel like I can't change it. I'm in the job and there's no way out, Yeah. And then I read 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And man, that just came at just the right moment, And it was sort of like, I am in control, and what am I going to do now to sort of turn things around? That happened about like almost exactly the same time I got this health scare. Yeah. Almost exactly the same time that I was like, it just all seemed to, happen when you need it, So I'm very grateful for it. So
that's awesome. And there's so many stories of people kind of coming out of rock bottom on their journeys, listening, especially if you are. This man is an inspiration, and what he's offering you is a chance to transform your health as well as your lifestyle. So what's so interesting is that you started to give people the gift of fitness and lifestyle back as you changed. So it was kind of like a positivity resonance. So how did you start training people, and how did that start?
Man, it was once again, it all sort of clicked in, all in that same sort of period. It was like,
yeah.
it was, man. And like, so I used to be a heavy smoker.
Yeah.
And I quit smoking, and then I started losing weight, and then I realized I don't want to go back to that. I realized that what I wanted to give, like I wanted to give.
Yeah.
And what better way to give than to give to people who are so if you're moving through your journey, hitting those people where you know where they've been, you know what they're struggling with,
yeah,
and you know, help them along. So that was sort of my way to give back, and I felt that was what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And that's where I feel that's what I'm here for, helping other people in whatever way I can. And for me at that time, health and fitness was what I knew. So
yeah.
And then it progressed into a bit more of a holistic, bigger picture.
That's great. So did you get a lot of support during this transformation, or was it mainly your personal journey?
Man, I think especially at that time in my life, I viewed support as weak, and as being weak, and I didn't, but I think I needed that at that time. But it was also a period where I was starting to learn I as an independent person at that time can change. So I think I needed that independence. But I think I definitely had support in a sense that maybe not from close friends and family per se, more from the books that I read and the podcasts that I followed, and so I had some online communities that were very supportive, and for me at that time, that helped me.
Yeah.
I would tell myself, man, seek closer support, you know.
Yeah.
But I think for most people, I would always encourage get closer support, get your friends and family on board. But for me, in my situation, that wasn't ideal.
So did your friends and family know about your transformation, or did you kind of keep it as a way for yourself? I mean, to begin you did, but did you kind of get their support later on?
I did, but it especially from my siblings, absolutely.
Yeah.
From my parents, it was a bit of a different story. It was sort of like, you give this secure job, you're giving up, you know, this steady income, and then you're just going, you know.
Yeah.
So they came around, but it took a long time. And, you know, they had my best interest in heart, of course. But my siblings were very supportive, which was beneficial.
That's awesome. So in terms of you training clients for your fitness journey, and as well as giving back to the community in a way through your fitness training and your lifestyle coaching. So when did you make that shift from the fitness training and then to the lifestyle?
Man, that was probably about 2 years ago.
Yeah.
2 years ago, and what happened was I was doing personal training, and I was really working big hours, really trying to help people as much as I could, and I sort of hit another wall, very, very similar to not as low, but I hit a point that reminded me a lot in hindsight of when I quit my job, and that because I realized there's more to change than exercise and nutrition. Like, there's a lot more involved. I could help people lose weight, and I could help people learn how to exercise, which are all very important things. But then there were these other underlying issues that were just not getting addressed, and not only in my client's life, but in my own life. I could see there was this massive hole missing, exercise, nutrition, and there's something missing that makes it a real change. So I realized there was this massive void, like missing, that goes with the health and fitness side of things that isn't addressed in the health and fitness industry. So that's sort of where I really got into a lot more spirituality. And not only for my clients' benefit, but for my own benefit, because I realized the same thing. I'm like, my fitness is down pat, my nutrition's down pat, but I still feel pretty most of the time, you know?
Yeah.
Not all the time. I was definitely a lot better, but yeah, and I thought there's got to be more to it. And that's where, you know, like Eckhart Tolle, started to get into a bit more delving into the subconscious, that sort of stuff that made me realize, holy is like
it's a whole world out there. Yeah.
Fitness and nutrition is a drop in the ocean compared to what really creates lifestyle change. You know, what really ingrains long-term habits. So yeah, that's where I bring that into my lifestyle coaching now, in a very subtle way, because most people come to me like, oh, I want to lose weight, and they're not ready for, well, let's deal with the childhood trauma you had, you know.
Yeah.
So a lot of what I do is people come to me to lose weight. I coach them through their various health and fitness concerns, which everyone has that area to address in a sense, but also introducing very, very gradually this bigger picture, holistic view to the situation.
That's fantastic, man. So when you have a client who's coming to you and you're coaching them through this process, what are some of the little subtle spiritual shifts or the epiphanies that you notice that happen to their training as a result of that?
So most people come to me thinking I'm lazy, I'm ugly, you know, I need to lose weight to be happy. If I don't lose weight, I'm gonna hate myself forever.
Yeah.
So a lot of self-hate, you know.
Yeah.
And a lot of what I do is sort of introducing these ideas that introducing self-love. Self-love's a bit of a woo-woo term, but I'm sure
term. Yeah.
for this podcast everyone can relate.
Absolutely, yeah.
This is sort of how this is exactly how I would bring it up to a client, you know.
Yeah.
I'm like I'll often say, oh, I know this seems a bit weird, I know this seems a bit strange, but I want you to practice, you know, it might be a breathing exercise just for 5 minutes, introduce them to it, and ask them how they feel after it. This is especially for clients who are high performers dealing with a lot of stress and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden they'll come out of this deep breathing exercise and feel, you know, probably the best they've felt in years, you know.
Yeah.
And this is someone who would never go to a naturopath, who would never go to, probably wouldn't want to go to a psychologist because they would view that as, you know, they're not getting into my head, you know. But through health and fitness, I try to make them realize in little small doses that get bigger and bigger that, oh, actually this can help. Not just in my health and fitness, which is what they're there for, but also in all areas.
So when you do see this shift in people, does that inspire you to move forward and implement more of these techniques?
For sure, man. And a lot of it is, like, it's so awesome because I learn so much from my clients. You know, I probably learn more from my clients than they actually learn from me in a sense. Because every time, like, almost every coaching session is an experiment in a sense. They don't know it, but I try something new every time, and a lot of it has to do with going through, because I'm reasonably new to spirituality, and the subconscious, and delving into past traumas and letting go of those sort of things. So it's a lot of it is I'm learning, I'm teaching, and then I see the response that people get back, and I can apply that to my own life. I know that works for certain people, that doesn't work for others. So every coaching session that I do, I'm learning something more of and how to coach better every time.
Great.
And not only my clients but myself, which is really cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. So I see on your Facebook you kind of started this thing called Sagar Train.
Yeah, SagerTrain.
That's awesome. So tell me a bit about that. How did you think of that name? How did you get that started?
Hey man, well that began as my personal training business at first, and then it progressed into more lifestyle coaching, which is what I do now. My last name is Sagar, but man, it was a bit of a stupid name in a sense, because I was throwing up ideas with my brother, and we kept thinking all aboard the Sagar Train. Like, that's what we kept thinking. So, and that was the only name that stuck with me for like months and months. And I'm like, I enjoy a bit of fun and a bit of humor, so I thought, okay, that would be the name. That's sticking. That's the one. So it's it's the name of my business. So
all aboard the Sagar Train. Choo choo.
Well, Sagar Train. Exactly right.
Yeah, I like that. All right. So I'm very interested in creativity as a coach. So I'm primarily interested in that flow state that clients have where they go into this moment and nothing else matters but the task at hand. So do you feel like when you're training someone that they have moments where they're trying new things or being creative?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. The whole process in itself, man, is learning to get into a flow state, because anyone who, when it comes to exercise especially, anyone who excels and enjoys exercise, they tend to get into a flow state while they're exercising, and a lot of that has to do with client's skill level and technique in a sense, but also their ability, and this is something that I assist them with, their ability to push outside their comfort zone too, which is huge in exercise. And anyone who gets into that flow state in exercise, regularly, not always, because it's not always wise to, but is regularly testing their boundaries, be it in a very technical type of exercise, or pushing a little bit harder, or going a little bit further. And that's part of teaching that flow state, which helps people enjoy exercise, which helps people make a long-term habit. Man, I'm interested. I'm like, I've never really thought of it like that before. What are your thoughts on creativity and flow state with clients?
Man, it's so interesting. Well, when I'm coaching someone using creativity or training their creative muscle, I have them do things which is similar to what you said, out of their comfort zone. So I would make them draw something or think of a metaphor that really applies to them, or an analogy, and then we really take it over the edge. We take it too far. And then by taking it too far, I think then we can kind of create a structure for it. What a lot of people do is first they create the structure for it, and then they take it too far. So, and I think creativity is often the birth child of like constraints or challenges and difficult circumstances, and I'm sure you can relate to this because you had to really use creativity to get out of your difficult situation. And so there's definitely a power to it, in that you know that you have limited resources and you have to make the most of what you can. And so really when I see the creativity with my clients, I'm noticing them really challenging themselves and pushing themselves to that best self. Yeah.
That's huge, man. I really think a big part of it is challenging, pushing outside the comfort zone.
Yeah.
Like, I really think that's so key. And I've seen like the people, my clients that, and not everyone can do it at the same sort of pace as others, but the clients of mine who are willing to push the comfort zone, or who are at that point where they're like, you know what, screw this, I'm going to give it a go and just see. When you push the comfort zone, you sort of realize, man, that's not too bad. Like, that's not as bad as I thought. And then you get more, I guess, more comfortable pushing that discomfort. And I think that's huge, man, because when people realize that they come out of it okay,
yeah.
Well, I'm thinking sort of more in exercise, but you can apply this to anything. When they realize they come out of it okay, they're like, what's next? You know, where can I do it next? How much further can I push it next time? And it becomes a game in a sense, but a really positive one.
Yeah, that's great. I'm thinking back to when I used to coach my clients. There is this moment of intuition that is also implemented. That's to say, like, for instance, when someone starts, they know the risks involved. So high risk, high reward is kind of how I like to think of it. And it's up to the client to discern if this risk is benefiting them or if this risk is deteriorating them. So what was it that really made you realize that, okay, eating healthy is probably the right thing that I should be doing, as opposed to earlier when you were smoking and when you were
I think because I mean most people, pretty much whenever you get to a point where you're a bit overweight, you're sort of like, I'm gonna eat healthy, you know.
Yeah.
And so I tried many times up until that point, and I think actually this is probably it. I'm thanks for bringing this up, man. I'm thinking it. I'm reliving it as I'm thinking it through.
Yeah, great.
I quit smoking first, so that was very difficult to do, but it made me realize, if I can quit, I went a month without smoking, and then I decided to change my eating habits. But it made me realize, I can do this. You're in control, man. Like, if you put your mind to it, that's sort of spurred on healthy eating, and then sort of feel the benefits of healthy eating, and you feel alive for me, I felt alive for the first time, because I was like, my brain was functioning properly, breathing properly for the morning, man, coughing my lungs up every morning, and thought it was normal. You know, I'd lived that life for so long. My mates were, my housemates were like, dude, you gotta stop smoking. I'm like, no, I've just got bad lungs. Like, I've always woken up with a cough. But that's insane. Like, that's not right. But you try it for a little while, you realize the benefits well outweigh the cons, and then you go back. Like, the negative feeling that comes from going back to that is not worth it. Yeah. Like, totally not. That's how I did it.
Yeah. Do you think that crisis moment, that health scare, it made you stop rationalizing for all your behavior?
Definitely. Yeah. It made me, because it was only a minor one. It was pretty much, I kept getting these migraines. I went to the doctor, and the doctor took my blood pressure, and it was like 180 over 90 or something. Like, I don't even remember, but it was like, the doctor said, I can't let you leave. She said, you're 24 years old. I've never given someone your age blood pressure medication. I'm sure that people have in the past. But she said, you're not allowed to leave blood pressure medication. I can't ethically let you leave.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, that's a big deal. Like, that's I have to change something here.
So, in terms of when you had this sense of accountability after you've transformed, this feeling or this need to give back to people who have been through kind of maybe not a similar thing, but everybody's kind of starts out at that low vibration level where they're, you know, they're smoking, they're stuck, they have this feeling of stuckness. In relating to people who are stuck, does their energy sometimes get influenced? Do you get affected by people's energy sometimes when you're training?
Absolutely, man. And a lot of it, like, I really feel just like it makes me upset. You know, it makes me very sad.
Yeah.
Mainly because how they're talking, I can relate so much to it, and it makes me really, you know, actually makes me want to go and do a release on it, like the feelings that I get from thinking to those times, you know. So it can sort of impact me in a sense, but my job, you know, the stronger energy prevails, you know, and so my job is to, with the energy that I have now, help at least somewhat. Each coaching session, my goal is just to bring them out of that a little bit more and a little bit more. And I think relating to that exact feeling helps in that regard. And yeah, I just try to bring them out a little bit more every time.
That's great. Yeah, I was just thinking to times where a coachee or a client has told me something that's completely like saddening, or if it's really sorrowful, I feel their energy, and especially because I work with a lot of energetic techniques, and so I tend to get a bit like my energy drops along with them. But you're right, absolutely, you have to make sure that your energy at first it matches, and then it has to like override it a little bit, so you take the frame is suddenly controlled, and it restores this balance. Yeah, absolutely.
I find the same thing, man. It's sort of you have to drop to that energy, and it helps because you and I have been there, so we sort of know how it is, and then you sort of just raise it a little, test the waters, see how they respond, raise it a little bit more, test the waters, see how they respond, because when they're at that energy level, that if you bring it up too high too quick, they're like, get out of here. They're like, what is this bullshit? So and that, especially, like, I find in the health and fitness industry, it's very difficult to go from here to here in one session. Like, it's very much gradual raise. Oh, too far. They're thinking this is a bit weird now. Let's bring it back down. You know?
Yeah. It's like adjusting the dials. Yeah.
Exactly.
That's great. Well, I'm afraid we're running a bit out of time, but I always like to leave the person on my podcast with a question or a kind of catchphrase or quote or something interesting that will make the audience go, what? So if you have some final statement that you want to leave the audience with that'll really make them think, what would it be?
Man, this is... it's funny you say that. I've been thinking about this one quote for the last couple of weeks, and it's it's something I heard. Something I've been thinking about a lot recently is the quote, "This too shall pass," and it's really, really find it applies a lot to, especially more so perceived negative emotions. Knowing that all emotions will pass, and not only does it make you feel okay and make it through those negative emotions or perceived negative, when you feel the positive ones, it makes you really savor them and appreciate them, knowing that it's all part of the life journey, but appreciating things when they're awesome, and knowing it's okay when things are down, but knowing it's all part of it.
It's just a journey. Yeah, exactly. That's fantastic. All right, well, have a high vibrational day. It was nice chatting to you, man.
Good chatting to you soon. Thanks a lot for having me, man.
Absolutely. Keep changing lives.
You too, brother.
Will do.
Talk
All right.
to you soon.
Take care, man. Peace.
Cheers, brother.